Tuesday, July 20th, 2021 meeting of the Parks Advisory Commission. This meeting is being held electronically to protect public health and safety due to the COVID-19 virus and to comply with orders issued by the Governor, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and/or the Washtenaw County Health Department. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be via telephone only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 877-853-5247 or another of the published numbers and enter meeting ID 949-7173-0458. This information is also available on the published agenda, in the public notices section of the city website, and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN Channel 16, AT&T Channel 99, and online at www.a2gov.org/watchctn and select government channel. Today we have Scott Spooner joining us. Colin is on PTO this week, so I'd like to invite Scott to call the roll, please.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Morrison.
Present. And I'm sorry, one note, everyone needs to still state where they're attending from. So present from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner London. Absent. Commissioner Ramaswamy. I'm not.
Pravina, I think you're on mute.
Sure.
Mute?
There you go.
Can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Okay. Present from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Borgsdorf.
Present from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Kraut.
Present from Ypsilanti, Michigan.
Commissioner Skylus.
Present from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Marson.
I'm here from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
And Commissioner Smith.
Patty, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I thought I could hit the shortcut. I'm here present from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
And Councilmember Grand.
I'm here from Ann Arbor. Thanks.
And we are all here except for Commissioner London, and you have a quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you, Scott. Moving on to approval of the agenda, which was included in your packet. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. The minutes from our June 15th, 2021 PAC meeting were included in your packet. Is there any corrections to the minutes or a motion to approve?
I'd move to approve.
Thank you. Motion to approve the minutes by Anne, seconded by Ruth. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the June 15th, 2021 PAC meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Great. All opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Thank you. Moving on to public comment. We have our first public comment section. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address PAC. Kristen, do we have anyone on the phone who would like to speak?
There is one caller present.
Okay.
They have not indicated.
Okay. Should we give it just a minute?
Yeah, we can give it just a minute. And again, that's *9 to speak. Oh, here we go. All right, the caller ending in 874, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Ellen Rabinowitz. I live at 1231 Baldwin Avenue, right across the street from beautiful Burns Park. I'm here today to ask you to consider increasing opportunities for off-leash play for dogs in our city park. I am the happy owner of a great dog who loves to play in the park. I contacted the mayor and my 2 city council representatives, Julie Grand, High Representative Grand, and Travis Redina, and they directed me to the Parks Advisory Commission to pursue this suggestion. I know this is an issue that the Parks Advisory Commission studied in the past, and the solution at that time was to create a few dog parks. The issue for dog owners is that there are simply inadequate opportunities for dogs to socialize and play off leash. The few city dog parks are frankly just not enough and not safe or adequate. I think there are a few ways that we could add more time and space for off-leash play. One idea is to have designated off-leash hours. Many cities have done this. In New York City, for instance, there are off-leash hours in all of the city parks until 9 a.m. every morning. I've been in Prospect Park with my relatives running their dog along with literally hundreds of other dogs. It works quite well. At around 8:50 in the morning, everyone simply leashes their dog, gets ready to exit the park. We could do something like that here in Ann Arbor. We could designate early morning hours, say from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., when there is almost no activity in our parks. We could designate that time or some time for off-leash time. Another idea might be to create fenced areas within local parks that could work as a dog run. You may know that the baseball diamond in West Park, with its fence, has become an impromptu space for Northwest neighbors to run their dogs off leash in the morning. They do it before other park activity uses the diamond. Perhaps there could be areas in some other parks that would function similarly, although not every park has adequate space to do that. The need for new opportunities for off-leash play has only grown during the pandemic, with an explosion in the dog population with so many pandemic puppies. I think we can find creative, cost-effective ways to address what sadly has become a divisive issue. I believe that the time has come for the city to take a fresh look at this, and I ask that you please consider that. Thank you.
Ellen, thank you for calling in. And just a reminder to PAC, we don't address public comment in the immediate, but know that this is something that will probably be discussed soon as an agenda topic, because it has been brought to staff for awareness as well. So Ellen, thank you for calling in with all of your comments.
Thank you.
Kristen, do we have any other callers today?
No other callers.
Okay. Thank you. Just a reminder that there will be a second public comment period at the end of the meeting. And Patty, did you have a question?
No, I'm sorry. I was just smiling because my dog has been sitting quietly all day, but when she was talking, and he can't even hear, I have my headphones on, and he can't speak people, but he started acting up when she was talking about the dog park. It's like he's in support. It was just so cute. I'm sorry.
Solidarity. All right, moving on to special presentations. I'd like to welcome Becky Gajewski from NAP today to give us a presentation on supporting pollinators in Ann Arbor's parks. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me to speak with you all today. I am very happy to be presenting on some of the things that we are doing within the parks and at NAP, where I work, to support the pollinators in our parks. So I have a presentation here, which I will share. Okay. Can everyone see that? Hopefully. Okay. All right. So again, my name is Becky Gajewski. I'm a stewardship specialist at Natural Area Preservation. And I'm going to be going through a lot of different things that we are doing both at NAP and within the Parks Department as a whole to help support our pollinator populations. Most of the things that I'm going to be talking about were also in a handout that should have been shared beforehand. I won't talk about everything, but I'll talk about a lot of the main things. So just to give a little bit of background about natural area preservation in case anyone isn't familiar, our mission is to protect and restore Ann Arbor's natural areas and to foster an environmental ethic among its citizens. So right there in the beginning of our mission statement, we are trying to protect and restore our natural areas. And a big chunk of that is enhancing habitat for pollinators. We do this in lots of ways, mainly in habitat restoration. So we're doing things like invasive species removals from pollinator habitats, planting seeds of pollinator plants, and basically just trying to enhance the biodiversity of these habitats. So there's lots of different plants that the pollinators can use, and we're trying to support those populations into the future. Some of the specific things that we're doing are work days with staff and volunteers, as I mentioned, specifically focusing on pollinator habitat, and we've done special events and work days for Pollinator Week, which is in June. So we'll focus just on those habitats where the pollinators are in the prairies and the open wetlands. We also support independent volunteers in restoring these habitats. For example, we have park stewards who are very active at specific parks, and they sometimes come to us and say, hey, it would be great if I can plant a little pollinator area, or can I work over in this degraded prairie and make it nicer for pollinators? And we'll support them by giving them guidance as to how they could do that sort of work, or if there's some sort of follow-up that needs to be done after they've already done their work, then we will go through and do that for them. We also follow an integrated pest management plan, which means that when we are trying to control invasive plant species, the way we're trying to do that is with the least toxic, least harmful to non-target organisms methods that we can. So when we're trying to get invasive plants out of a habitat, the first thing we'll try to do is, can we pull them? Just pull them out and compost them. If we can't do that, we'll move on to the next thing, which might be cutting or prescribed burning. We'll try all of those things before we'll try doing herbicide. There are some plants that are just resistant to every sort of control method that necessitates us having to use herbicide on occasion, but we'll try everything else before we try a chemical. And if we do have to resort to herbicide, we'll use the lowest effective concentration that we can, so we can minimize the impact to any non-target organisms. In addition to the on-the-ground work, we also provide guidance on large projects. For example, the creek restoration projects at Huron Hills Golf Course and Leslie Park Golf Course, the Traver Creek and Benz Creek projects, we gave some input on pollinator plants that could be planted as part of the restoration, and different things that could be done to make sure that when that habitat comes back in, it's healthy and beneficial to pollinators. And we also do site plan reviews. So when those big developments come in and they want to plant native plants in their detention basins or do some sort of native garden, we'll give them feedback on the sorts of plant species they're selecting to make sure they're not picking anything that's invasive or something that's not native that might not be beneficial to pollinators. And a big part of what NAP does is community outreach. So we have a whole section of our team that focuses on citizen science. I oversee 2 field biologists, and together us and volunteers are just out seeing everything we can see that's living and growing in the parks. So we have a butterfly survey as part of this citizen science effort. We are the Ann Arbor hub for the Michigan Butterfly Network, which is hosted out of the Kalamazoo Nature Center. And this is an effort to get butterfly survey routes established throughout the state of Michigan so that we can get a better handle on the butterfly populations. Are they growing, declining? How healthy are they? So NAP is sort of the organizer for everybody in Ann Arbor. We set up the routes and we send volunteers out to survey those routes and report the data back, which ends up going into a national database. So then it's available for researchers all over the country or the world. We also partner with the Leslie Science and Nature Center for their annual Monarch Migration Festival. We'll come and bring a table and talk about the importance of native habitats and how you can keep your native habitats healthy. We'll do plant identification with people to show them the cool different native pollinator plants they can plant in their own gardens. And we've also partnered with the National Wildlife Federation Ann Arbor office to distribute educational materials at public events like the Monarch Migration Festival or the Mayor's Green Fair. They've given us stacks of brochures and fun handouts about why pollinators are beneficial, and we'll distribute them for them. And we also maintain an informational webpage on pollinators on the city website. We do a lot of work with other organizations outside of the city, or at least outside of the Parks Department. With the National Wildlife Federation, we are a signatory of the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, which is an effort to get mayors of different cities all around the country to commit to certain action items that are beneficial to monarchs and other pollinators. So every year we commit to different action items, and then at the end of the year, we submit an annual report about what we did. Every year, I think since we've signed on, we've been what's called the leadership circle level of signatories. If you commit to a certain number of actions, then you're in the leadership circle. We also received a grant from NWF to purchase some native seed to enhance our pollinator habitats. And we've collaborated with the Ann Arbor office of NWF to work with some dedicated citizens to establish a pollinator garden at West Park. Outside of NWF, there's another group called Project Wingspan. This is out of the Pollinator Partnership is who hosts this project. And we had an ecologist come out and evaluate a bunch of our different pollinator habitats throughout parks, and she gave us advice on how we could improve them. We then collaborated with volunteers to have them come out and collect seeds from different pollinator habitats. And then those seeds were redistributed to other communities that requested them. And I see a raised hand. Steve, go ahead. I am not hearing anything on my end. Uh-oh.
Not seeing Steve on.
Oh.
I wonder if he, oh, there, he's back now.
Okay. I worried that I lost my sound for a second there.
No, you're good. No, we can hear you.
Okay, good.
Steve, did you have a question? Well, I'm not sure if he's there or not, so.
Okay.
I think you can keep going, Becky.
Okay, I'll just soldier on then.
Okay.
All right. So as I was saying, we had volunteers come out and collect pollinator seeds from our different habitats, and they were redistributed to different communities. We actually requested to get some seeds as well, and we were awarded those seeds this year. We had to sort of petition and make our case for why we were deserving of this award of seed, and thankfully they decided that we were. So within the county, now we're narrowing down a bit, we work with the Washtenaw County Water Resources Commission to perform prescribed burns and invasive control in some of the rain gardens that they maintain that support pollinators. So at the beginning of the year, every year, we'll get a list of the different gardens that need help, and we'll help out with some of those gardens. In addition, the Environmental Commission has a pollinator working group that we've been working with to do things like update the pollinators webpage, ensure that we're accurately reporting all of the initiatives that are taking place in the city for the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, and we're exploring other opportunities for helping with pollinators. All right, so that's kind of an overview of all of the big things that NAP is up to, but of course throughout parks there are lots of other things going on. In Give 365, the Adopt a Park program has tons of volunteers that are out planting pollinator-friendly plants in their various parks and little gardens, and they're also working to remove invasive species. A great example is the Rotary Club Butterfly Garden at Gallup, and that's this picture at the bottom of the screen, looking great with a great diversity of plants. Also, Adopt a Median volunteers are planting and maintaining pollinator plants in medians and traffic islands. And the golf courses got involved in this cool project called Monarchs in the Rough, which is a project of Audubon International and the U.S. Golf Association, and I think also the Environmental Defense Fund. And they received seeds, milkweed seeds, that were planted in the roughs at Leslie Park and at Huron Hills. So folks throughout parks are all keeping an eye on the pollinators and what we can do to help enhance their habitats and the health of their populations. One thing that we need to keep in mind that's always a little bit of an issue is the long-term care of some of these things. It's great that so many people are excited to help create habitats for pollinators or help enhance habitats, but it's important that long-term care is part of the planning process. This is a picture at West Park of the pollinator garden that was planted a couple of years ago. And unfortunately, you can see the sign has graffiti on it, and there's, in the back corner, there's thistle creeping in, which is not native. So this garden, unfortunately, needs a little bit of care, and we're working with that group to try to get someone out to help maintain that garden a bit. So it's more than just the planting, it's also the care over time that's very important for these things. So that was my big picture overview of all the stuff that we're up to in parks, and there is my contact information in case anyone would like to get a hold of me outside of this meeting, but I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Great, thanks, Becky. That was great. Does anyone have any questions right now? Ruth, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, can you share what you're doing or if you're doing to share this information with city residents? Like, do they know that we're doing this?
Yeah, so they would know about some of the more public outreach things like our pollinator focused work days, our volunteer butterfly survey, those sorts of things through our social media and our newsletter. We're always advertising whenever we've got a pollinator focused event, or we may do some like educational posts on our social media about why pollinators are good and why you should help maintain habitats for them. So different bits of this, I think, is getting out in different ways. And then for the other programs like Adopt a Park and the Monarchs in the Rough, I assume that the folks at Give and at the golf courses are also kind of publicizing their work through social media channels.
Good question. Patty, you have a hand raised.
Yep, I just wanted to say hi. I'm one of the butterfly volunteers, and I've just had, I've tried to go several times this year, and both my wooded areas are just packed with bugs. So I will keep trying. But it's been, oh my goodness, a bug flew into my eye, and then it was just insane. But I will keep trying. But I just wanted to say hi and apologize for not being able to submit anything yet this summer.
Yeah, hi, no worries at all. It's been a crazy, terrible year for mosquitoes. It's chased us out of the field a little bit as well. So don't worry at all about that.
Any other questions or thoughts?
I have one.
Yeah, Pravina.
So I'm a park steward for Bromley Park. I know this may not be the garden, but if people want to put in a garden and they're a park steward, how do they go about doing that? And two, since you help with this area, what is the direction for groups meeting again to volunteer in the parks?
So to establish a garden, I would start either by contacting Adopt a Park or just NAP's general email address, which is nap@a2gov.org. We kind of divide the parks up based on whether or not there is a natural area or whether the garden is going into a natural area. So if it's going into a natural area, that would fall under NAP. But if it's like a patch of lawn that is going to be converted into a garden, that's more of an Adopt a Park thing. So if you start with either one of us, we'll get you to the right person. And then I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
How are groups meeting back again to volunteer in the parks after COVID?
So like if a group establishes a garden and they need to kind of meet back together to care for it.
Just overall coming back to the parks, just as general.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, so we have, when groups volunteer with us, we do re-recruitment after a certain amount of time. So if they volunteered at a certain park, next time something's happening in that park, we'll contact them and say, hey, you volunteered here before. Would you be interested in volunteering here again? And I think our Workday coordinator checks in periodically with the different groups that we have on file to see if they want to come back again. Like, hey, it's been a year, we haven't heard from you. Are you interested in coming back and helping us again?
Great. So we do try to normal. Your guys are taking. We're allowing volunteers to come in groups. We're encouraging nonprofits or interested volunteer groups to come and contact you to come work in our various parks.
Yes, definitely. We love groups. We love groups that keep coming back too. So for sure.
Any other questions or thoughts while we have Becky with us? Okay, well, Becky, thanks for a great presentation and for coming
Sure.
today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Moving along the agenda to reports. Scott, would you be willing to give us the report for the Parks and Recreation Manager?
Yes. So it's basically the middle of summer, which means all of our, most all of our facilities are running at full speed, except for, ice rinks. So yeah, the pools are open. Both the liveries are open. An interesting note, this past Saturday, the river trips were canceled for the first time in July due to high water. They've been closed in July before due to the river being so low that people can't get past. This was the first time it was closed due to too much water. Interesting, maybe not the best news, but and then the golf courses, Leslie Park, they just finished the city tournament. That was well attended, and despite the rain, went off pretty well. And then Huron Hills, they are finished with the construction project, but are not quite ready to open up to full 18 holes yet. That should be before the end of the summer, or maybe in September. And then playgrounds, Bromley Park, construction is going to begin on the new playground Thursday, July 22nd, so 2 days from now. It should take 3 weeks, so hopefully it'll end by the second week of August. And then once that is done, they will move over to West Park and do a reconstruction on the playground at West Park. That's pretty much all I have.
Will there be signs at the parks for noting when construction is going to be starting and what's happening?
Yes. So we just got notice that all the equipment is in and ready today. So we wanted to get the construction started as soon as possible. So the sign will be going up tomorrow. We should get the sign tomorrow, and then we'll put it up as soon as we get it made. And then we will have a sign out at West Park with a little bit more notice, but unfortunately Bromley is first on the list. So we figured it was better to start it earlier than wait so that people have a little more notice.
Yeah, what's the timeline for finishing West Park?
So West Park should be done by the end of August.
Okay.
Should be about 2 to 2.5 weeks for each of them.
Got it. And Anne, go ahead.
Yeah, I know this came up last month, but just to refresh my memory, because I saw a question about the West Park Band Show and where we are in the process of having that repaired.
We're still in the process of getting an engineering firm to totally evaluate what's going on. So until that's done, we can't really determine what needs to be done and how much and what the next steps are.
Okay. And I imagine once it's decided sort of what is to be done, then it's going to be a matter of raising the funds or allocating funds to carry out any repairs that are necessary.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts about Scott's report? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on to report from the Recreation Advisory Commission. Patty, do you have any updates for us?
No, I actually reached out to Jenna and there is nothing to update at this time. So we are good.
All right. Thanks. Well, that's quick. Reports from relevant commissions, committees, boards, and or task forces. I know Steve is having a little bit of trouble with his Zoom right now. So I don't know, Steve, are you there right now?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, is there any updates on the center of the city?
Discussions are proceeding apace. We had a good discussion with the DDA that came in and gave, I guess, further perspective as to some of the details around the use of the structure, what can be done, what couldn't, sort of the limits on certain types of things with regard to the structure itself, location of some of the utilities, what you could do on the surface, getting through the concrete and things like this. Also, it appears that the DDA and the city are working on a memorandum of understanding for the use of that section of the surface lot that's sort of adjacent to the library, and sort of charting out specifically what could be done in that space. So we're looking forward to that step. And then meanwhile, the council is continuing to go forward with our discussions on the different possible uses for the space and sort of prioritizing and phasing out how that will unfold. So more to come, as always.
Okay, great. Thanks for the update. And I do want to acknowledge that we have the Winchell Park renaming subcommittee as well, but I'm going to save that. We have that on the agenda in item 9C to discussion extension, so we can give a brief update on that subcommittee at that time. Any other subcommittees or task forces that I haven't mentioned? Just one other thing to add, or a request, with Mike having ended his term on PAC, we do still have an open spot. I know, Praveen, I agree. I see it. I agree. He is missed, but we do have an open spot on the Environmental Commission, and so that is still an open spot. If anyone from PAC is interested in being the liaison and representative to the Environmental Commission to fill Mike's shoes.
Paige, could you give me an idea of how much work that is?
I can, and I can send you a more detailed email after this if you're interested. I believe it's a monthly meeting. It's Thursday evenings, I believe.
And Paige, would we just get in touch with you or somebody else?
If you want to reach out, if you're at all interested, why don't you just reach out to me and Colin and copy Scott as well. And we can provide more information about the time commitment and the actual dates of their meetings. So, yeah.
Thanks.
I don't want to, ask for a commitment right now without all the information, but just something to think about, that we do need a representative. So, all right, moving along to unfinished business. We don't have any today, but we do have new business. So I see Adam has joined us. Welcome, Adam.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. And Adam is joining us to talk about the resolution to recommend approval of a contract with laser striping and sport surfacing to convert one tennis court to 2 pickleball courts, while renovating both the tennis court and basketball court at Burns Park. So Adam, go ahead.
Hey, let me share my screen. Scott, it is doing the not letting me share thing again. So I think they're gonna have to share it.
Same as last month, I guess.
It is last month. Okay, locked.
Okay.
That is so odd. Scott, are you able to share your screen? Okay.
There it is.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, so I have, I think I've presented on this twice along the way. So this is an update as we move forward into construction. So I'm just going to do a quick recap. If there are any questions, please let me know. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. Okay, so the existing court at Burns Park, they're in need of repair and resurfacing. Unlike the Southeast Area Park and Leslie Park, which have been under construction in a full rebuild, these can be crack repaired and then the entire surface recoated and striped. And that's going to extend the life of the court 5 to 7 years. So it's not in bad enough shape to redo, but we could get ahead of it right now. Resurfacing it like we're doing and recoating allows the opportunity to add pickleball as desired, and it's one of our most requested items to be added to the park. So this is a chance to do that. And we have added permanent pickleball courts at Leslie Park in 2018, and they're incredibly popular and used all the time. Next slide, Scott. So just a quick recap of the survey. I presented the results in the October meeting for PAC. But basically, we presented 3 options and posted a survey last year, about a year ago, from June 26th to July 16th, asking about reconfiguration. We reached out to all residents in a quarter mile of the park and then posted our survey on social media. We received a really good response. We had over 80% of the respondents supporting adding pickleball to Burns Park, with the majority of respondents saying that they would prefer 2 dedicated pickleball courts, removing 1 of the tennis courts. The other 2 options were to leave it as is or leave 4 tennis courts and overstriping 2 pickleball courts, but we saw that most people wanted 2 independent courts, which was recommended by PAC. So that is what we moved forward with for the construction document. Scott, you know, the next slide. So the contract documents for the project were bid through our standard city procurement procedure back in February. We did receive 2 bids at that time, but unfortunately both were considered non-responsive, just due to missing elements or forms that they weren't in there. So we ended up rebidding it back in June. We had bids due back in July 6th. You want to go to the next slide, Scott? We did receive 1 bid from laser striping and court surfacing, and they're considered the lowest and responsible bidder for the amount of $79,500. And they can get to this project at the end of September, being completed, anticipated at the beginning of October. And the funds are available in the fiscal year 22 millage. So next slide. It's just it's the end. So if there are any questions, I know it's really short, but yeah, let me know if you have any questions on that.
Great, thanks, Adam. Any questions for Adam or about the resolution? Or is there a motion to approve the resolution? Motion to approve by Rachel. I think I saw Rachel first, and second by Anne. Great. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the pickleball court addition at Burns Park by Rachel and a second by Anne. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, resolution passes. Thank you. And thanks, Adam.
Thank you very much.
Our second item of new business is a resolution to recommend approval of the Fuller Park parking lot land lease with the University of Michigan. This is a lease that should look very familiar to anyone who's been on PAC for a little while, but Scott's here to speak to it and answer any questions.
Yes. So this is basically the same lease that came last year. The lease with U of M first started in 1993. It was expanded in 2009 into its current form with all 3 parking lots. The revenue expected from this lease to the parks would be $129,448. That's a 3% increase on 2 of the 3 lots, with the 3rd lot staying at a level rate. And basically it's a 1-year lease with an option to renew for 4 additional 1-year terms on the end. That was the same that came to PAC last year, and then council changed it to just a 1-year renewal, which is why we're back here again.
Great, thanks, Scott. Any questions or comments? Or a motion to approve? Patty? Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, great. Motion to approve by Patty. Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Ruth. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the resolution to recommend approval of the Fuller Park parking lot land lease with the University of Michigan, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, resolution passes. Thank you. We will move on to 9C, discussion on extending the Winchell Park renaming committee term. I know, Rachel, would you be comfortable giving sort of an update on what the committee's most recent progress is? And I can help fill in details.
Yeah, I can.
You're one of our representatives, so.
I am, and Steve is as well.
Yeah.
We haven't met in a while. I think where we left things was we were really happy with our outreach plan to try to whittle down our votes. And Colin suggested that we get in touch with any associated families, and progress has kind of stalled there. So we hung out there for a while, and then I believe Colin sent an email outlining a plan to move forward on that. I don't know if anybody responded. I thought it was great, but I think we're moving forward with that plan. And our thought is, if we reach a consensus, we'll try to reach out to that family at that time. What did I miss?
Nope, that sounds right. Yeah, so that was great, Rachel. Thank you. So what Colin said is there's a plan to finalize the survey, publish the webpage, and mail postcards, as well as post a QR code in the park so that anyone interested can take the survey. And the survey will be available for the month of August. So with results due at the end of August. So the request for PAC is just to approve extending the term of the Winchell Park renaming committee until January 2022. So another 6 months basically to get the survey done, the survey results back, contact the family of whoever is chosen for the renaming, and then wrap things up. So
yeah, this is Steve. I just to add a couple comments, because Rachel skipped over the part where she played an instrumental role in getting the biographical statements and summaries of all the people into sort of a uniform and very clear fashion. And so that was part of the progress that has been made to get all of the various candidates that the committee has discussed and conferred about. So then, yeah, so the action steps are as you define them. And I think it's probably too much time. I'm not quite sure we'll need all 6 months, but the idea is exactly as you said. Let's get the feedback from the community and then go forward from there, and then have ample time to sort of think about opening the park with the new name. And there's been some discussion from the neighborhood and from the committee members to not just sort of show up with a new sign, but maybe have more activity around that, and maybe some freshening up of the the park itself as part of that. So that's why we would need the additional time. I think we've made good progress to this point, but we're back to sort of seek more time to finish it out.
Yep. Steve, that was a great recap. And I think thanks for bringing up Rachel's contribution, because Rachel, I read through all the bios and it was very well put together. So thank you both for being part of this committee. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve extending the committee's term until January 2022? Ruth?
I'll be happy to make that motion, but before we do, I just have a question. It's not really about this park, but just thinking about how we just recently renamed Rose White Park for Graydon Crapel. And I know there was a request to consider Belize Park being renamed for Larry Hunter. And I don't know where, so one question, which maybe needs to wait till Colin's back, is where that Belize Park thing rests, but also just sort of thinking if this is going to happen more. And quite honestly, I feel like there are a lot of parks that are just have, you know, Southeast Ann Arbor Park as an example? Like it's just nothing, you know. Is it, like, should we set up more of a process? And should that process include, like, if we're going to name a park for somebody cool, you know, should we have signage about that person? Or so that's maybe for another agenda item for the future. And in the meantime, I'll be happy to make a motion to extend the Winchell Park renaming committee until, what did you say, January 22?
January 2022.
Till January 2022.
All right, thank you for the motion. We'll hold it for just a minute. I can answer some of your questions, Ruth, and then Scott, if you want to jump in, feel free. I just spoke with Colin yesterday, and he is still waiting to hear back from the city clerk about the feasibility of renaming Belize Park. They are still Belize is still recognized as a sister city by the city of Ann Arbor. So he has, like I said, he has inquired with the city clerk on the possibility of renaming the park, has not heard back yet, and he's out all this week. So he said he will be following up again with the city clerk in August to see what that looks like. And then we would still need to follow a process similar to what we've done for Winchell and Graydon's Park. And I do agree that I think having this will continue to come up. We actually might have some more pending requests for park renaming. So I think it is a further discussion for the future.
Yeah, and I also think there's some there's like positive requests, like, oh, we love Graydon and Rose White just is a location.
Yeah.
So that's like a positive request. And then there's like a negative request, like, hey, this person did harm. Yeah. This person was racist, and, you know, so it could be we want to treat them differently.
Yeah. Julie, do you want to weigh in?
Just to add on that I've been getting a lot of requests about naming parks lately. I don't know what it was, like a pandemic thing, whatever it is. And what I had sort of said is like, well, we want to get through this. I don't know. And then people got impatient with me, but I was like, I'd like to sort of get through this process of Winchell and know that we, you know, use that as potentially a template for how we do things, and then bring it to PAC. And I'd like us to have a process. But I know of sort of, you know, 2 community leaders that I've been getting a lot of, you know, sort of enthusiasm for doing something for just in the last kind of, you know, few months. So I would love it if PAC, you know, could come up with some sort of guidelines or process without necessarily reinventing the entire wheel. I think we probably have some good history and are doing it right now. So
yeah, when I did talk with Colin, he was pretty adamant about, if we're going to think about renaming a park, it should first come to PAC. PAC should decide if they want to advance it or not. and then the ultimate decision should come down to council.
Mhm.
But how we get to that process, I think, is what we're talking
Yep.
about now. So
I'll follow up with Colin afterwards, and Scott, I'm sure you'll have conversations with him as well, and ask that we have a further discussion about this and create a process or formalize the process we've been following with Winchell. Back to the motion. I guess Ruth made a motion to extend the Winchell committee. Is there a second? Seconded by Anne. Any further discussion? Which this has been great. I think this is definitely something that PAC needs to continue to discuss. So a motion by Ruth, a second by Anne. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, great. Well, thank you for extending the term, and Rachel and Steve, thanks for continuing to be our representatives on that committee. Commission proposed business. We don't have any today. Land acquisition matters. We do have a land acquisition matter. So to move into closed session, we need a motion and a roll call vote. So is there a motion to move into closed session to discuss LAC? Motion by Anne, second by Pravina. Great. Scott, could you please do a roll call vote for us?
Commissioner Morrison,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramaswamy,
Yes.
Commissioner Borgsdorf,
Aye.
Commissioner Kraut,
Yes.
Commissioner Skyless,
Yes.
Commissioner Marson,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Grand.
I don't get to vote.
Oh, okay.
I'll
Sorry.
vote a lot tonight though, so don't worry.
There we go.
Okay. All
The
right.
ayes have
Thank
it.
you. Steve, I know you have a restricted amount of time, but I will see everyone over in the LAC Zoom link momentarily.
Great. Yeah, I'm going to beg off. Thank you so much, Bates.
Thanks, Steve.
Talk to everybody soon.
Hey, Kristen, are you there?
Yes,
I don't have the LAC Zoom link.
I just sent it a little bit.
back. So is there a motion to return to open session? Motion by Rachel, seconded by Pravina. Okay, Scott, could you please do a roll call to return to open session?
Okay, Commissioner Morrison,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramaswamy,
Yes.
Commissioner Borgsdorf isn't joining us. Commissioner Kraut,
Yes.
Commissioner Skyless,
Yes.
Commissioner Marson,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
and we are back.
Okay, thank you, Scott. All right, we are back in open session. We'll move on to our second public comment period. Kristen, do we have any callers at this time?
There are no callers.
No callers, okay. Thank you. Communications were included in your packet. No need for any other closed sessions, so we stand adjourned. Thanks everyone for joining today.
Thanks,
Thanks
bye.
for filling in,
Okay.
Scott.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you
Thank
did a
you.
great job.
Thank you, Kristen.